very good evening and a warm welcome to Primetime News on TV1. I'm Zeenat Mustafa. Now, even amid the COVID-19 outbreak, we have come together as a nation. Sri Lankans across the island, be it the north, south, west or east, we've all come together, and the strength and unity among all of us is emphasized each passing day. The youth especially has acted in an exemplary manner to personify the meaning of rise. Now, as you may recall, our news bulletins during the past few days has begun with a song. But this song is not merely a song. It's a song that echoes the sentiments shared by all Sri Lankans. We will stand in solidarity to uplift Sri Lanka, uplift our motherland. And this is the intention and the hope of all Sri Lankans.
Sri Lanka.
Rise up, Sri Lanka. Yes, we can. And let's all stand in solidarity to uplift our nation, to uplift our motherland, Sri Lanka. Now, taking a look at our Primetime News Bulletin for today. First, we will be updating you about the COVID-19 situation in Sri Lanka and, of course, the situation that has arisen due to economic centers across the island closing down owing to the COVID-19 outbreak. We will also be drawing your attention towards more discrepancies that have been reported when providing Samudri advance payments to Samudri beneficiaries. And, of course, today, Catholics in Sri Lanka and across the globe are commemorating Good Friday. So these and more stories are lined up for you for our Primetime News Bulletin. But first, let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Mixed responses to allegations of politicization of relief system. Rice mill operations declared as an essential service. Government allocates rupees 600 million to expedite the process of purchasing fish. Issues pertaining to the issuance of rupees 5,000 allowance continues. Muted Good Friday commemorations.
On to a top story for tonight's bulletin. No COVID-19 patients have been identified from Sri Lanka today as of now. Accordingly, the total number of COVID-19 cases in Sri Lanka stands at 190. The latest COVID-19 case from Sri Lanka was identified last evening. According to the Ministry of Health, 134 coronavirus patients continue to receive treatment. The death toll as a result of COVID-19 in Sri Lanka remains at 7. 5 more people who had recovered from the COVID-19 virus have left for their homes today, and that bringing the total number of recoveries in Sri Lanka to 54. In more local news, now several issues concerning the implementation of relief measures to areas which come under the purview of the Dulapitiya Pradeshya Sabha were revealed over the past few days. Now today, the political authorities responded to these issues.
The Consumer Affairs Authority recently raided a vehicle of the Dulapitiya Pradeshya Sabha, which was being used by its workers to sell food items at high prices. Following the raid, it was revealed that a small tin of canned fish was being sold at 140 rupees and a kilogram of dal at 150 rupees, which is in violation of the price controls stipulated by the government.
This incident does not have the involvement of any member of the Dulapitiya Pradeshya Sabha nor State Minister Indika Anuruddha. This was a program which was initiated by the chairman of the Dulapitiya Pradeshya Sabha within his electorate. I view this incident as wrong, and that is why I am making this statement. A thorough investigation has to be conducted in this regard. The chairman and the administration of the Dulapitiya Pradeshya Sabha have to be punished for this. At a time when the people are trapped inside their homes due to the curfew, we had to take measures to distribute food to houses using vehicles of the local government institution of Dulapitiya. The only issue was a policy decision taken by the government on dal. We accept the stipulated price imposed by the government. But there are many types of dal in the market. At this instance, we keep a 5 rupee margin as transport cost while selling a type of dal imported from Australia. The people ask what is the point of getting other goods if they are not getting dal, salmon and sprats. So we had to offer dal at this price, which they can purchase if they wanted to.
Meanwhile, it came to light yesterday that permission of a member of the Dulapitiya Pradeshya Sabha was needed to purchase goods from the Kotikawatta cooperative store. The Pradeshya Sabha in question responded to this today. They accused me and State Minister Indika Anuruddha in this regard. I assure you there was no political interference from the State Minister. All activities within my division were carried out the way we instructed them to. I requested all locals to submit the list of items they wanted along with their name, telephone number and address. No one needs to wait for my permission. Unfortunately, the remarks made by the lady at the store was misinterpreted by the media. There was a group of people opposite the store waiting to purchase some items. I took their lists and told them I will call once their items are prepared. These were the exact words repeated by the store manager, but these words were misinterpreted.
A circular has been issued to regulate the manner in which goods are distributed and received properly, and also to choose the beneficiaries in the right manner. The government has introduced a mechanism. All activities take place according to this mechanism. Considering what took place at the Kotikawatta cooperative store, we have given the lady the responsibility to coordinate with the cooperative society. She has only fulfilled her duty.
It wasn't us who amended the constitution and demarcated the electoral boundaries. The parliamentarians should be responsible for the people in their electorates. The people elect their representatives to bridge the gap between them and the state officials. These representatives do not have any connection to the matter as financial management. If people are facing injustice, the public representatives have the right to intervene into the problem. The opposition should understand that the virus will affect everyone equally. Unite for the sake of the country instead of aiming for political gains. This is because the people are intelligent. The public is well aware of the government's conduct. Therefore, if what needs to be done is not executed by the opposition, these people will stand against them.
Many are still attempting to politicize the food distribution process. Politicizing the distribution process seems to be the present government's agenda. We can prove that the leader of the Pradeshya Sabha is deciding on the relief distribution process according to his own whims and fancies. We stressed from the very beginning, if Basil Rajapaksa is involved, it will be politicized. What they are doing is politics. This is their mechanism to win the votes of the villagers.
A person who was arrested for organizing a protest in the Doluwa area in Gampola during curfew hours has been remanded until the 16th of April.
A protest was held at the Illagolla junction obstructing the Kandy road, claiming that the government's relief distribution process is not being carried out in a proper manner.
5 divisions in this area have not received concessions. Politicians distribute goods only among selected people. There are many poor people here. This is unfair. People who earn a living through manual labor cannot go to work. The 5,000 rupees Samruddhi allowance is all they get. There are several innocent people here. Do not leave them helpless. We have not received relief from anyone.
A resident of the Illa area in Doluwa Gampola was arrested on charges of organizing the protest. The suspect, who is a father of 2, was arrested by the Peradeniya police last night and has been remanded until the 16th of April by the Kandy Magistrates Court.
At around 9:30 last night, 2 uniformed police officers attached to the Peradeniya police and 4 police officers dressed in casual attire said he needs to be taken to record a statement. Afterwards, at around 12:30 in the morning, the Peradeniya police called me and said my husband was taken into custody and he will be produced at court. My husband has been remanded until the 16th. I do not know the reason for this. I am still confused about this matter. Due to the prevailing situation, I can't visit him either. I request them to solve this issue.
Several issues have arisen owing to the closure of economic centers in the country due to the COVID-19 situation.
It's been 6 days since the Dambul Economic Centre was closed. Although this facility has been padlocked, trading activities continue to take place in playgrounds and private land areas in close proximity to the town.
Around 2,500 metric tons of vegetables are brought to the Dambulla dedicated economic centre daily. Farmers in several areas have been affected following the decision to close down this economic centre. Accordingly, farmers were seen selling goods at the Gammudava ground in Dambulla and the Dambulla main road in Kakirava.
The situation is the same irrespective of whether the market is closed or open. The risk of spreading this virus is high when there are crowds. Therefore, I feel the market should be kept open under a certain mechanism. We are being inconvenienced due to this. We cannot sell our goods as they don't fetch a good price. We cannot purchase fertilizer as we don't have a proper income. Our cultivation are ultimately destroyed due to this. This will lead to a shortage in vegetables. The relevant authorities must take steps to rectify this issue. At least the government should purchase these vegetables. I have cultivated produce across 3 acres of land by obtaining bank loans. However, now we are helpless. We expect relief to be granted to us. The government should introduce a program to assist us in selling these vegetables.
Although sellers were required to follow health precautions, that was not the situation in other areas. Although the Dambulla dedicated economic centre was closed, activities at the operation centre were seen taking place.
We wish to responsibly state that there is no shortage of vegetables in the country. If there is a shortage, the Dambulla Economic Centre is prepared to distribute them through divisional secretariats.
Meanwhile, 4 days have passed since the Kapatipola Economic Centre was closed down. Therefore, farmers in Valimana, Parnagama and Bandara were seen selling their goods on the pavements in these areas.
Farmers are facing difficulties in selling their produce. They have to sell them on the side of the road. Vegetables don't fetch a good price as well. We request the government to intervene and provide a solution to this.
It has been 2 days since the Tambuttegama Economic Centre was closed down. Farmers as well as traders who came to the economic centre have been affected due to the difficulties experienced while obtaining curfew passes for transportation. The Director General of the Civil Security Department arrived at the location to inquire into the situation.
Economic centres have been closed down. Therefore, we instructed the civil security officers to support the process of purchasing produce from the farmers and distribute them through divisional secretariats to the relevant areas. The situation in the market is unfavourable at a time when there is a shortage of vegetables. Businessmen and the middlemen have left the economic centre.
The staff attached to Minister S.M. Chandrasena's office and other politicians have forcefully entered the economic centre and had purchased goods for prices as low as 10 or 15 rupees a kilo before selling them at 200 or 300 rupees in other areas. We have been informed that vegetables are purchased for about 15 rupees and are being sold at 5 times this rate in other parts of the country. This is wrong. There is a mafia involved in this vegetable trade who engage in unfair activities. They must be identified and severely punished. The farmer is not being protected as a result of such people. If the farmer is not protected, the country will not have a future.
The Kalpitiya Pradeshya Sabha has taken steps to impose restrictions on entry to the Norochale Economic Centre. The Pradeshya Sabha has decided to introduce a timetable for farmers and traders to enter the economic centre. Farmers can enter the economic centre from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. while traders can arrive from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Due to the prevailing situation in the country and the failure in the mechanism to distribute vegetables and farm produce via economic centres, cultivations across the island are facing a major threat. Local farmers in Kalpitiya are struggling to make a living due to the prevailing situation in the country.
We cannot transport our produce to economic centres and buyers cannot visit the economic centres to purchase our goods due to the ongoing curfew situation in the island. If not for this issue, we could have sold our produce at a higher price.
We have pawned our jewellery and taken bank loans to cultivate.
Farmers have become helpless. No one is purchasing our produce.
Local farmers in Mahava are struggling to sell their produce to make a living.
We cannot earn any income by cultivating vegetables. We are helpless. So helpless we cannot pay those who work for us. There is no market for produce. If we halt operations, our employees will be helpless. We urge the authorities to address this issue and to establish a proper and fair market for all of us.
Similar struggles are shared by the locals of the Dutuwava area in Galem Bindunuwava as well.
Every year we purchase new clothes and household items with the money we receive by selling corn. But this time we are helpless. Farmers across the island urge authorities to implement a more systematic mechanism that would enable efficient distribution of their produce from the farmer to the consumer. Vendors try to purchase our items at very low prices. How can we sell our produce at such low rates? In my view, the intermediary is using different methods to distribute products. A kilo of capsicum is 30 rupees and a kilo of tomatoes is 20 rupees. And yet, vendors do not purchase our produce. So we urge the government to intervene in this matter and give us a fair price. Our produce is rotting. We request provincial level authorities or even the private sector to intervene and ensure our produce is distributed to the public. If the government intervenes and grants approvals, this can be done.
Now, residents of the Malagama village in Madagama Bibile claim that they have not received the 5,000 rupee allowance granted to individuals who are facing economic hardships.
Officials had informed these residents to gather at a particular location in order to provide them with the allowance. However, residents complained that officials could not distribute the allowance among everyone as there was a shortage in funds.
The people of our village have not been granted concessions. This is unfair. The relief should be granted to everyone. However, they have been given this relief only to the families who have sufficient income. The poor have not received. There are several families in the Malagama area who are helpless as they have not received relief from any entity. Someone is blocking the process of providing relief to the people of this area. We do not know who it is. In the morning they said that they would grant us relief. However, now they are saying that they are unable to do so. They said that they had only brought 200,000 rupees with them. How can that amount be distributed among the huge number of families residing here? Our media reports of distributing of 5,000 rupee among the people false. Why are the authorities falsely promoting such programs and inconveniencing the people? Although the government has said that 5,000 rupee allowance will be granted to each household, we have not received it yet. We earn a living through labour. The grant will assist us at a time when we are helpless.
People of the Vanaraja area in Hatton also echoed similar sentiments. Although 240 families were included on the list to receive the 5,000 rupee allowance, only 40 families had received the allowance. We do not have work. None of the officials, including the Samruddhi officer or the Gramanidadari officer, have visited us. They have included 240 beneficiaries in the list. However, that list has been cut down.
The people who can't go to work are staying at home. There are people who came from Colombo. There are people who drive vehicles. It is only these people who were included in the list of beneficiaries and had been granted the allowance. The names of the other people are also there on the list, but they hide those names. It has been 4 years since I registered for the Samruddhi allowance. However, I have not received anything up to now.
It has been 7 months since I registered for the Samruddhi allowance. As the elderly, what can we do? We can survive only if someone helps us.
The College of Community Physicians of Sri Lanka presented a 12-point plan to help Sri Lanka come out of the COVID-19 pandemic and to resume everyday life. The physicians state that high-risk areas need to be evaluated and curfew should be lifted in all other areas. They add that medical clinics, pharmacies and supermarkets should remain open, but added that social distancing should be maintained when using these facilities. They have also drawn attention to restarting public transport networks, permitting only half of the available seating capacity.
අපේ රට දැන් සති 3ක් තිස්සේ සියලු දේවල් අකර්මණ්‍ය වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Many industries in the country have been inactive over the last few weeks. Around 200,000 people who earn a living from these industries are affected. Thousands of people in the private sector are facing problems in sustaining themselves during the coming days. There is a need to recommence production while taking steps to avoid the spread of COVID-19. There is a need to draw special attention towards this matter. Our country cannot bear this situation. The situation is being managed now because the people have rice in their households. However, people who earn daily wages are severely affected. This needs to be rectified. The people attached to industries which are currently inactive are now stranded. Therefore, the relevant authorities must take steps to recommence production while taking into consideration the health directives.
තංගේ අවධානය සෞඛ්‍ය නිර්දේශවලට යටත්ව සැලකිල්ලට ගන්න ඕනි කියන කාරණේ අපි මේ වෙලාවේ අවධාරණය කරමු.
Japan has announced an economic stimulus package of $990 billion to kickstart the economy following the conclusion of the prevailing coronavirus pandemic.
Foreign media stated that this is the largest such economic stimulus package presented by Japan. The stimulus package is equivalent to 20% of the country's GDP. The Japanese Prime Minister hopes that the package can help sustain collapsing businesses while kickstarting the economy. Following the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, Sri Lanka has also received a large sum of aid and relief loans from international agencies. Sri Lanka received a $500 million concessionary loan from China as the pandemic was taking off. The American embassy in Sri Lanka announced that the United States has also made a grant of $1.3 million. They have also expressed their agreement to making a $128.6 million financial facility available. Meanwhile, the European Union has also committed to making available $22 million in foreign aid. While the relief is being aggregated in that manner, the governor of the central bank announced a stimulus package worth 50 billion rupees last week. It is roughly equivalent to $250 million. The package has been put in place to help support borrowings people have made from licensed financial institutions as well as to help reinvigorate businesses.
The Mathura District Coordinating Committee met under the leadership of Minister Dala Salha Peruma today. The political interference involved in the process of distributing relief was revealed during this meeting.
There are 5,000 families in Mathura. The discrepancy is the problem here. We are focusing on that. Our district has received more stocks when compared to the other districts. The quota is correct. However, take a look at the breakdown. On what basis have the beneficiaries been chosen? Prepare an index after this meeting. We understand that we cannot provide the entire amount which is required. An index that can be created should be prepared based on what is given. The chairman of the Matra Pradesh Sabha has also asked for a huge amount. I am not blaming you for this. Don't misunderstand me. This is not what I am saying. While issuing the grant, some individuals intervene and decide on who gets what. Then they say that the grant will be given if they vote for a particular candidate. There are people present here who do that. That conduct does not suit President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and the government. They do not approve it. However, such incidences have taken place. We agreed that the person who prepares the list of beneficiaries should do it collectively. One family might be receiving the Samudri allowance, senior citizens allowance and the disabled persons allowance, while another family may not be receiving any of those. Therefore, there are discrepancies in distributing the funds. Most of these discrepancies are linked to political interference. We showed that the Grama Niladhari had to consult some local politicians to prepare the list. It was proven that there were some defects in the system. While supplying goods to cooperative societies, the issue of voting had come up. Therefore, we would like to tell the government to face this situation as one nation. Instead of demotivating state officers, let us face this situation together. We cannot prevent the government from gaining the political upper hand as a result of this. We do not want to prevent this as well. The president and those involved can take the credit. The relevant groups should receive credit.
News First has always been committed to revealing the shortcomings of public representatives when they shirk responsibilities handed to them. Equally, we praise the altruistic acts carried out by politicians. Now, a series of exemplary videos featuring Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and former MP Nama Rajapaksa carrying out home gardening is currently making the rounds on social media.
The daily lives of the people have been hampered by the coronavirus. It has affected the country's economy as well as the global economy. We will have to face major challenges in the future. We have to be self-sufficient in the agricultural sector. We have to encourage local manufacturers and entrepreneurs. We have to implement a program to uplift the local economy.
The government has allocated 600 million rupees to expedite the process of purchasing fish from fishermen.
At present, large stocks of fish remain in the multi-day fishing trawlers at ports of Mirissa and Devinura. Fishermen claim their livelihoods have been severely inconvenienced due to their inability to sell fish owing to the prevailing situation in the country. These fishermen appeal to the government to ensure the fruits of their labor do not go to waste and to put in place a mechanism that would enable them to sell their catch. At a group meeting attended by politicians representing the ruling faction today, it had been decided to purchase these stocks of fish with the intervention of the government. Basil Rajapaksa, the head of the Presidential Task Force on Essential Services, also attended the meeting.
The Minister of Fisheries has requested another 2 to 3 weeks. However, if these stocks are not purchased immediately, this won't be successful. The price in other outlets is around 700 to 800 rupees. At the harbour, it can be brought for around 200 to 300 rupees. Those can be sold elsewhere for around 250 to 350 rupees. We have issued funds worth 600 million to the Ministry of Fisheries. Provide the funds as soon as possible. Then the stocks of fish can be purchased. Why is there a delay? We allocate funds to divisional secretaries, utilize those funds, purchase fish for your respective wards and hand over the money to the Fisheries Corporation.
The Department of Immigration and Emigration that came under the Defence Ministry has been brought under the purview of the Ministry of Mahadali Agriculture, Waterways and Rural Development. The portfolio comes under the purview of Minister Chamal Rajpaksha. The assignment has been done by amending the Special Gazette assigning subjects issued on the 10th of December 2019 through a Gazette issued on the 8th of April. Now, taking a look at more local news, villagers placed under isolation due to the spread of COVID-19 remain isolated as of now. Our correspondents reported and inquired into the situation in these areas.
The villagers of Tennakoon in Akurana Kandi, Atalugama in Bandara, Kalutara, Kadumayan Kulam in Puttalam and Thavadi in Jaffna have been classified as isolated villages. A special program to create awareness was conducted today in Tennakoon in Akurana. 20 people who had been in contact with the coronavirus patients discovered from Atalugama, Bandara are currently placed under quarantine at a centre in Bandara. 5 Grama divisions including Sri Janamawata in Atiriya, Ratmalana and Pannila in Beruwala had also been placed under isolation. 320 people from Akkaripattu 19 have been placed under self-quarantine after an area resident had tested positive for COVID-19. Operations of the ICU of the Kurunegala District Hospital resumed today. Operations were previously suspended following the discovery of a patient who had arrived from an area with a high prevalence of COVID-19. However, it has been confirmed that the patient had not contracted the virus. The patient in question had been admitted to the hospital for treatment through the ICU of the hospital and had later shown symptoms of COVID-19. However, following the release of the patient's medical reports showing he had tested negative for the virus, the staff attached to the ICU in the hospital, which comprises of 39 people and were under self-quarantine, had been recalled for duty. Over the past 10 days, we have gradually intensified the quantity of PCR tests being carried out per day. No COVID-19 patients have been recorded today. Tests are conducted on samples collected from hospitals where COVID-19 patients are found. Quarantine centers and areas where patients are identified are also among this. Similar to conducting tests on samples collected from hospitals, we have started collecting samples from society at large as well.
රෝහල්වල රෝගීන්ගෙන් ගැනීම හා සමානවම මේ විදියට සමාජයෙන් මෙම නියැදි ලබා ගැනීම සාම්පල් ලබා ගැනීම සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
ත්‍රිවිධ හමුදාව විසින් පවත්වාගෙන
1,455 people are undergoing the mandatory quarantine process at the 12 quarantine centres operated by the Tri-Forces. 23 people who are believed to have had close contact with a COVID-19 patient in the Jail area who did not go into self-quarantine were directed to a quarantine centre operated by the Navy in Oluville.
The number of newly hospitalized patients in the hardest hit state of New York has dropped to a 1% increase, offering a glimmer of hope as the global death toll inches closer to 100,000. More than 355,000 people have recovered from the disease worldwide. Despite signs of progress in several countries, the pandemic continues to take its toll on economies. In the US, unemployment is expected to hit 15% this month, a number not seen since the Great Depression.
As of 6 p.m., world figures are as follows. Total number of COVID-19 patients stand at 1,619,944. Total number of deaths stand at 97,058 and total number recovered stands at 365,900. Top 4 countries include United States of America with a population of 327.2 million have 468,895 cases with 16,697 reported dead. 25,928 have recovered. Spain, with a population of 46.75 million, have 157,022 cases with 15,843 reported dead. 55,668 have recovered. Italy, with a population of 60.5 million, have 143,626 cases with 18,279 dead and 28,470 recovered. Germany, with a population of 83.8 million, have 118,235 cases with 2,607 reported dead. 52,407 have recovered. Other countries with the highest number of COVID-19 cases are France, China, Iran, the United Kingdom, Turkey and Switzerland. Last night, for the third week running, people across the United Kingdom gave a round of applause for key workers leading the fight against coronavirus. Downing Street said that Boris Johnson's health continues to improve in hospital after the PM spent his third night in intensive care. Europe's finance ministers have welcomed a late-night 500 billion euros, which is approximately 547 billion US dollars, rescue package for workers, businesses and governments caught up in the coronavirus crisis. South Korea are heading towards a poll amid the coronavirus pandemic. 2 days of early voting ahead of the parliamentary elections next Wednesday have seen a record turnout. All voters must have their temperatures checked and wear masks and gloves before casting their vote. Russia has reported 1,786 more coronavirus cases, its largest daily rise so far, which took the national tally of confirmed infections to 11,917. The Russian Coronavirus Crisis Response Center said in a statement that the number of coronavirus death-related rose by 18 to 94. Spain has reported 605 new deaths from coronavirus, the lowest daily tally since the 23rd of March, bringing the total death toll in the country to 15,843, while cases rose by 4,576 to a total of 157,022 cases. In the United States, the death toll has surpassed 16,600 with 1,783 new deaths in 24 hours. Buildings and landmarks across the United States were illuminated in blue yesterday as part of the Light in Blue initiative. From New York's One World Trade Tower to New Orleans Superdome and the Dallas skyline, the blue lights were meant to honor healthcare and frontline workers during the coronavirus outbreak. Malaysia has extended movement and travel restrictions that they have put in place to contain a coronavirus outbreak for more than 2 weeks until the 28th of April.
The International Monetary Fund warned that the global economy is facing its worst crisis since the 1930s depression. Managing Director of the IMF made this statement during an interview with Bloomberg.
Well, this is a crisis like no other. It is the worst we have seen since the Great Depression, and it requires extraordinary action by everyone, including by international organizations like the IMF. Our message is twofold. One, we must fight the virus and protect people. Governments ought to do everything they can to support health workers and health systems.
Several international media organizations reported on a scientific study that revealed a potential link between the BCG vaccine and a lower spread of COVID-19. Now, Newsfirst spoke to infectious diseases specialist Professor Sanjaya Senanayake, who is currently in Australia, for his opinion.
Now, many of you will know that the BCG vaccine is given to prevent tuberculosis. But what has been found in studies in children that there is potentially a reduction in all-cause mortality. So all-cause deaths are reduced in children who have BCG to such an extent that it can't be explained purely by the BCG's effect on tuberculosis. In other words, we suspect that the BCG affects part of our immune system called the innate immunity and boosts it up so that it could potentially fight other infections. This being the case, a number of countries, including Australia, has started studies where they are immunizing healthcare workers or other adults with the BCG to see if it has an impact or effect against COVID-19. So watch this space.
There is no reason to believe that cold weather can kill the new coronavirus or other diseases. The normal human body temperature remains around 36.5 Celsius to 37 Celsius, regardless of the external temperature or weather. The most effective way to protect yourself against the new coronavirus is by frequently cleaning your hands with alcohol-based hand rub or washing them with soap and water. As crazy as it sounds, there is a myth that 5G mobile networks spread COVID-19. This is completely false. Viruses cannot travel on radio waves or mobile networks, and COVID-19 is spreading in many countries that do not have 5G mobile networks. COVID-19 is spread through respiratory droplets when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or speaks. People can also be infected by touching a contaminated surface and then their eyes, mouth, or nose. There is also a popular belief that regularly rinsing your nose with saline helps prevent infection from the virus. However, there is no evidence that regularly rinsing the nose with saline has protected people from infection with the new coronavirus. There is some limited evidence that regularly rinsing your nose can help people recover more quickly from the common cold. However, regularly rinsing the nose has not been shown to prevent respiratory infections.
Pharmacies in districts which have been identified as high-risk zones and in areas which are under lockdown will remain closed during the curfew. Issuing a statement, the Prime Minister's office said that pharmacies in the remaining districts will be kept open from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now, this was announced in keeping with the decision taken by the Presidential Task Force on Essential Services. The government declared the production of rice as an essential service and imposed price controls on rice.
The maximum retail price has been imposed on certain varieties of rice. The Consumer Affairs Authority said that the Gazette notification on the price cap was published today. Accordingly, the maximum retail price imposed on a kilo of Kiri Samba stands at 125 rupees. The maximum retail price on white or red Samba stands at 90 rupees a kilo, whilst the price per kilo for white or red raw Samba is also 90 rupees. In addition, white or red Nadu rice will also be priced at 90 rupees a kilo, whilst the price per kilo for white or red raw rice will be 85 rupees.
As the country remains under curfew due to COVID-19, air quality levels have improved significantly.
According to data provided by the air quality monitor at the US Embassy, Colombo's air quality level stood at 42 as at 4:15 p.m. today. This means it has a good rating. The National Building Research Organization says the air quality has improved due to the reduction in the movement of vehicles as a result of the curfew.
Meanwhile, people in the northern Indian state of Punjab are reacting with awe at the sight of the Himalayan mountain range, which is now visible for more than 100 miles away due to the reduction in air pollution caused by the country's coronavirus lockdown.
Indians in the city of Jalandhar and the surrounding area have posted photos online of the views from their homes, with some saying they haven't seen the peaks of the Himalayas for decades. Air quality and visibility greatly improved in India in April 2020 as the country implemented a nationwide lockdown to combat the COVID-19 coronavirus disease. India's Central Pollution Control Board found that in total, 85 cities across India saw less air pollution in the first week of the nationwide lockdown.
Pope Francis is set to deliver Good Friday Mass to an empty St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. We cross over live now to St. Peter's.
Go Passione di nostro Signore Gesù Cristo, secondo Giovanni. In quel tempo Gesù uscì con i suoi discepoli al di là del torrente Cedron, dove c'era un giardino, nel quale entrò con i suoi discepoli. Anche Giuda, il traditore, conosceva quel luogo.
Now those were the visuals you witnessed from the St. Peter's Basilica. Now the COVID-19 pandemic also affected the commemoration of Good Friday in Sri Lanka.
Good Friday Mass was observed at Holy Cross Church in Maravilla sans the attendance of any devotees. Similar scenes were witnessed at St. Aloysius' Church in Gaul. In Negombo, home to a large number of Sri Lanka's Catholics, churches usually packed for Good Friday were empty. The Siddharthi Deva Mata Church and the Church of St. Mary, Mother of Presentation in Pitipana, were also empty. Our correspondent in Hatton noted that Good Friday Mass was not held at the Holy Cross Church today. The situation was much the same at other churches in Hatton.
In today's Newsline segment, Newsfirst Deshan Gonavada spoke to Admiral Professor Jayanath Kolambage, the Additional Secretary for Foreign Relations to the President.
One of the biggest issues that a lot of Sri Lankans do have on their minds is the fate that will befall the people, their friends, their family, living overseas, and I think you're probably the best person to answer. Is there a plan to bring all these people back?
Well, I mean, when the airport in Sri Lanka was closed for inbound passengers, either Sri Lankans or foreigners, on 19th of last month, there were quite a few people kind of waiting to come, but they could not come before the deadline to Sri Lanka. In fact, some of them were on the way, and some of them actually got stranded in airports and airport hotels. But then we had our requirement that is to settle the COVID spread and contain it in Sri Lanka. So we really kept the border closed. I think that is one way we have actually prevented the further spreading of the virus in the country. So yesterday, or day before yesterday, the President and the Cabinet made a decision that there were 33 people in that category where they were stranded in various airports or in hotels, that we should bring them back to Sri Lanka immediately.
An area of massive concern is the fate of students, and I think where this actually peaked, this concern peaked, was I think with the Australian Prime Minister mentioning that if you are unable to support yourself, you should go back home. And there was quite a discourse about, you know, what is going to be the fate of all these students who are doing their day jobs, who are working in the informal sector. How are they going to be able to take care of themselves?
Now, yes, many universities are closed, but most of them have not shut the door for the students. I mean, they said, okay, you can stay in your dormitory or in the hostel. And now when the Australian Prime Minister's speech was made, we really got alarmed, and our Foreign Secretary immediately spoke with his counterparts, and then he got this matter clarified, and he was categorically told that it was not meant for the students.
But it's not just the students, is it? We do have professionals who are, let's say, on government bursaries. Let's say in Europe we have a few. We have doctors who have got
in UK.
What about these people? For example, if you have a government bursary, you know, it normally works till the summer. But if this situation continues, the bursary expires and they don't have any money coming in to support themselves.
But actually, as far as government servants are concerned, now I can give you one example about the doctors in UK. The health department has decided that they will make an extra month's payment immediately. That is for them to, you know, to survive on a day-to-day basis. So that kind of a thing can happen, because we can have a government decision to support them. I don't think the government servants should have a major problem. But the problem will be with the students and the people who have gone on temporary visa. You know, they may not have a lot of money. And we are also told that some people, you know, they are not very young people, and they need medicine, they need medication. So they are basically running out of the medicine also, and it is very difficult to get the same type of medicine in that country. So there are some practical issues. So we are trying our best to help them.
But are you able to give us a timeline on, let's put the airport aside for a minute. Within Sri Lanka, I know curfew is a solution, but it's not a permanent solution. And people are always wondering, when is this going to be lifted? How long do you think?
Well, you see, I mean, why curfew? There was this talk about lockdown, but I think a country cannot be locked down completely like Sri Lanka. People have to find things to eat, buy medicine. The farmers have to do their business. Tea pluckers have to do their business. The ships have to come in and go. So that is why the government took a decision to impose curfew. Right now, curfew is there. Now, curfew is a measure of controlling the mobility of people. The medical professionals, if you speak to medical professionals, they will tell you, if you can restrict mobility up to 70% of the population, you can cure the disease in this particular time. But if you can control the mobility between 80 and 90, you can bring that curve very down, right? So what we need is to maintain this restriction on mobility of people somewhere around 75 to 80, which is practically possible.
Retired Judge of the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka and sitting Resident Justice of Appeal and Supreme Court Judge of the Republic of Fiji, Justice R.K.S. Suresh Chandra passed away today.
Justice Suresh Chandra was admitted to the bar as an advocate in 1972 after obtaining a Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of Colombo. He obtained his Masters of Law degree from the University of Colombo. He was a practitioner at the private bar from 1972 to 2008 and was a consultant to several leading banks, private and public institutions. He was a member of the National Labour Advisory Council of Sri Lanka and a member of the Labour Law Reforms Committee. He served as the Deputy Permanent Representative of Sri Lanka to the United Nations in New York in 2009. He was appointed as a Judge of the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka in June 2010 and retired from the position in July 2012. Prior to his demise, he served as a Judge of the Supreme Court in Fiji. He has been a resource person for the International Labour Organization, the International Organization for Migration, the Judges Training Institute of Sri Lanka and the Bar Association of Sri Lanka.
On to an update on the global COVID-19 situation. Global COVID-19 deaths have exceeded 100,000, while the total number of cases stands at 1,639,763. Total recovered patients stands at 369,017. Now, we leave you tonight with the Nagitimu Sri Lanka theme song, a song that echoes the sentiments of all Sri Lankans. I'm Zenat Musafir for the Newsfirst team, and Brian De Cruz was our news interpreter for tonight. Thank you for watching Newsfirst. Good night and take care. Sri Lanka.
We must unite and march ahead. Arise, Sri Lankans now. Rise up, Sri Lanka. Nagitimu Sri Lanka. Happy Nagitimu Sri Lanka.
Gammadda Nagitimu Sri Lanka.